Hey everyone, and welcome to the AI Leadership Podcast. I'm your host, Sam Joseph, and today we're very lucky to have Shubinder Virk on the podcast. Hey Shubinder, thanks so much for making time for us.
Thank you so much, Sam, for having me.
Yeah, brilliant stuff. And so let's dive straight into our first question, which is, what is your technology origin story? How did you get into tech?
Very interesting. I've been in tech for about 7 years now,
Hmm.
working as a full stack developer
Hmm.
up until this Jan, where I've started moving my tech stack myself into the business area and building an agency. But
Okay.
the origin story starts from me having a business background.
Hmm.
I went to University of Greenwich. Studying business management with the IT at that
Hmm.
time.
Hmm. Hmm.
And yeah, in my year three, I think I just consumed a lot of stuff on the internet. I
Yeah.
learned a lot just as I'm just super curious. And I think there was a massive signal towards technology just growing
Sure.
in every sector, in every industry, and that just perked my ears up. I
Hmm.
wasn't very sure where I wanted to sort of place myself and position
Hmm.
myself, but I knew that the technology boat was the one I wanted to get into. And
Hmm.
thereon, I did a few internships. I got into coding initially, but I wasn't very sure because coding was like a new language to me. So I
Sure.
tried and tested different other areas like product management.
Hmm.
I just leaned into start coding. So then from there, I started working for a commercial real estate company
Oh
here
yeah.
in the UK that is US based,
Hmm.
called apartments.com. Actually, in the UK, that's the parent company. I was
Hmm.
working there. And then from there, then onwards, I knew that I just wanted to get into tech. I wanted to code. I wanted to
Sure.
actually lay the bricks,
Right.
as you call them, and then become an architect of it over
Yeah.
time. So, and then in parallel, I was actually learning about AI too, a
Hmm.
lot of the revolution that was taking place, and we're now seeing a lot of those. Uh, we're seeing a lot of those ripples
Sure.
that started about a decade ago,
Yeah.
when I went to university. So yeah, that's pretty much my origin story, and I continued uh, coding in different areas. So
Hmm.
I'm very glad that I took that decision at least.
Yeah, absolutely. And so what was the when you started the coding, what were the languages that you were getting into, and what was because I think there's a lot of people thinking about that journey. What were the stepping stones that allowed you to get really comfortable with coding?
Right. So everything that I was reading at that time, I was learning around my internships as well. They actually did a data analyst internship
Oh
at
yeah.
University of Greenwich. So initially it wasn't straight away into coding, but I wanted to do something where I'm able to use data and then use
Hmm.
technology to be able to get insights into various
Hmm. Hmm.
decisions, especially around, how businesses make decisions, how they use
Hmm.
data to empower themselves,
Yeah.
from retail shops to, customer buying behavior. I've always been into that because of the books I've read. But when it came to the data analyst role,
Mm.
I I spoke to many people. I spoke to many programmers, data analysts. They
Hmm.
all mentioned that having the data science route would
Right.
entail me to get into some PhD level, or
Hmm.
I would have to have a higher degree to actually get into it. So the
Uh,
barrier to entry to a data science role was high.
mm.
Um, Whereas with the full stack development role, it was more broad initially because you get to touch
Right.
different technologies, and it was a very good segue for me to actually enter and actually try it out for myself.
Yeah.
And the initial part, I started coding, and I'm still coding in the same. It's the MERN stack, so
Yeah.
MongoDB, Express, Node.js,
Right.
React. Obviously now it's Next.js.
Hmm.
But just moving into it's a good segue to learn all those paradigms, and then
Yeah.
now AI is using the same thing as well. Like Lovable is all underlying React too. So yeah, that's the tech stack I've been working in.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's some sort of TypeScript, JavaScript, TypeScript is the kind of
JavaScript,
is
TypeScript,
the
exactly. Yeah,
the core of that.
that's it.
Yeah, yeah.
That's the that's my bread and butter.
Yeah, no, totally, totally,
Always is.
and yeah, that's and it's a in the sort of full stack web development, it's one of the big boys. Yeah,
Right.
interesting that you people were sort of saying about the data science that you do need the PhD and so on. I think that maybe was the case. I think it's become much more accessible now, and I work with data scientists who've just they've got a degree or a master's and they're having a lot of fun with that. But yeah, no, brilliant. You've gone in that direction, and so and you mentioned AI. How is I mean, we're in the midst of an AI revolution, clearly. How is AI affecting both your life and your work at the moment?
In many ways, I saw AI, grow over time, and I think that was again when it comes to all these different streams. When I first started, again, the development stream, the data analyst stream, and then the AI, so like the machine
Mm,
learning. So I always took an interest in that area. Uh,
hmm
but now things have become much more mature, and
hmm
it's not like I need to go learn machine learning. I need to understand neural networks, even though
hmm
I'd love to learn about those things. But I think my focus has become more business focused now.
Sure.
So just taking that as a segue, AI, both professionally for myself and in my personal life,
Mm,
made dramatic changes. And I think I was taking stock of how things are sort of helping me. So I mean, personally, I would say I've been playing around with different tools,
uh-huh.
different tools, just to learn them, just to understand how they work. Um, I mean, I use ChatGPT religiously for many many things.
Yep.
I've been playing around with different models as well. Uh,
Mm,
generating images,
hmm
building plans, um, just anything to do personally. I think financially as well. When it comes
Yeah.
to organizing things, I've had I would say a suite of different tools like Obsidian, Notion.
Oh yeah.
That I've been working with, and I've always been massive on, you know, connecting, building a second brain of mine, which is
Right.
external to myself.
hmm
I've always tried to figure out ways to connect the different quadrants in my life. Over time,
Oh yeah.
if you've read the book Stephen Covey, he talks about the different quadrants of a person's life.
hmm
So this is
hmm
Stephen Covey's highly Seven Habits of Highly Effective People.
Right.
Um, so I'm just trying to basically bring all those different quadrants, which are personal, professional, health,
hmm
relationships, all under one roof,
hmm
and then be able to just continually work on those without them being fragmented.
Okay.
So I've used AI to, for example, build a knowledge base of myself,
Oh yeah.
then be able to connect it to AI, and then I can retrieve all that information
Okay.
and I'm able to ask it and prompt it different questions,
Right.
and I'm able to get financial information about myself that I've collected over the
mm
years, and
mm
analyze that information. I have
mm
information about the people that I have. I need to basically, I have some form of responsibilities towards my
Right.
family, friends, and I can just basically work on that,
Wow.
building my personality. When it also comes to, I think my personal growth.
Mhm.
Me as a person is changing year by year. There's
Sure.
always milestones, new things to review, new things to learn, new things to reflect on.
hmm
So I've been using AI in conjunction with that, and
Right.
I would like to think I'm a quite of a retrospective person that
Uh-huh.
to take time and reflect over and go for a walk in the park and maybe come up with an idea and then figure out a workflow how I can use that in AI. That's personally, but professionally, it's been very measured and very performative for me
hmm
because
hmm
now is are there were there any questions for the personal side, I guess, because the professional side has a lot more in.
I mean, I'm fascinated at what you're talking about building this knowledge base that has got information
Yeah.
about you financially and the personal things. Can you give us any more details about, is that just a big Google Doc that you've given ChatGPT access to, or how are you managing that data for this personal knowledge base?
Absolutely. I think initially I had a difficult time uh, bringing all the systems together, and it was quite fragmented at that time because
Mm,
I was using Obsidian for like I had different multiple vaults. So
okay.
Obsidian is a note taker, but you're able to create different vaults, and it's all free if it's offline and on your laptop.
Mm,
It does is it creates knowledge graph, and you can
Hmm.
see ideas being connected to each other. Uh,
Mm.
and then that's more like a freestyle, emergent themes that come out of
Right.
your notes that you take. And
Mm.
I played around with Notion as well. Um, so initially, it was very fragmented, as I mentioned, these systems. But over time, I built ways to, tag them correctly, be able to bring them closer, and then use
Mm.
ChatGPT to connect to it,
Okay.
uh, so that I can basically pull out information. I'm not quite there yet. I would say I'm
Mm.
still fragmented. There's so many new systems that are
Hmm.
emerging,
Hmm.
and it becomes quite difficult to fully leverage a lot of old systems. So I'm still in that process of understanding
Right.
how to defragment the old system and
Right.
really build that personality type of myself. I really want to build a second avatar of myself where I can
Mm.
take all this knowledge and I can interact with it. So
Yes.
I would say 50% there because I've got an understanding. And with these new systems I'm also building professionally, uh,
Mm.
I've become much more organized as well because I'm just forced to make that decision how that
Mm.
system is going to flow, how data flows. Um, but it's some form like a RAG system that
Yeah.
you can use Obsidian as just those low level notes.
Right.
And
Right.
I've connected it to a RAG system. It's not very sexy to be honest.
Sure.
I would
Sure.
need to make it a little bit more nicer. But
Sure.
yeah,
Sure. But
it
yeah,
can
I
just go.
mean, I think it's it sounds very exciting to me, and I'm kind of it's fascinating to hear about how someone's organizing all those. I mean, I've got a lot of my own data in Notion, my own notes in what's the other thing in Google Docs and so on, and I mean, I've used a little bit of AIs in Notion, and I rely extensively on ChatGPT, which has got it has memories, and then I'm crafting rules for it, and then it's got like a limited MCP that doesn't seem to really work wonderfully well. I mean, it sounds like I personally haven't tried to really connect all of these things together. I mean, it sounds like partly it's like you're trying to be organized, you're trying to tag the things, but then also with the RAG system, you are starting to bring some of the things from the work coding into the life coding. I mean, for me personally, when you mentioned that avatar thing, I mean, I run a number of stand-up comedy nights, and there's a process of managing all the people interacting, and there's lots of little one-on-one interactions, which when I look at the latest AI, I think actually, an avatar of me could be managing a lot of this, and I'm excited about building similar sorts of systems. So this is I mean, I think fascinating that maybe we'll have you on again in a year when and we'll speak to your avatar rather than you or something. Who knows? Who knows? It's
Absolutely.
exciting times.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I think it definitely takes. There's a bit of a process. In coding we call it tech debt. So any
Hmm.
system that has accumulated over time, we never know how those decisions were made in that moment, and they just amassed to a lot of
Hmm.
information, a lot of code, and it becomes a debt because then now you have to
Sure.
reverse engineer and figure out why some decision was made or why was that note. So in my personal knowledge, at least I have amassed so much knowledge over the time,
Mm.
and I'm still finding a way to use AI so that I can really figure out a way to just be able to retrieve that information. And I guess like it needs to be. I've picked up a I tried different systems.
Yeah.
If I may, I use something called like a para structure and a code structure.
Okay.
Code means capture, organize, distill, express. This goes for content, for example. Which means that every time I capture something, it gets organized using tags. Then once it has been organized, that gets distilled into
Mm.
relevant information that could be published, which is the expression part of it. And everything is basically like now I have a full system which is organized in a para structure, which is
Hmm.
projects, areas. So
Mm.
any project I'm currently working with.
Hmm.
Areas are like, those quadrants I mentioned, the
Hmm.
financial relationship, just the different quadrants a person goes through.
Mm. Mm.
And the resources, anything that I need as a resource so that it gets repeated, and I
Mm.
can just easily pull, and then archives. So I can archive any of those projects, areas,
Okay.
resources into archive. So my bookmarks, my Obsidian, Notion, everything is built around this paraphrase.
Mm.
It was Tiago Forte who I used his sort of framework,
Yeah.
put it all together.
Cool.
Yeah, just to organize these things, remove the tech there. But yeah,
Right.
I'm seeing that as I am building new systems, uh, all the fragmented stuff, the things that were not in place, I've
Yeah.
been able to recall those things now, and I've been able to build a much better version because it's my data. So I am
Mm.
able to recall and rethink why I'm making a decision and then
Hmm.
put it together. So
Yeah. I mean,
documenting the processes for my agency now, and I'm trying to document as much as I can to say, okay, this is why I made this decision, or this tool I'm using for this reason.
you're right. Right. Very interesting. And so, I mean, fascinating stuff. I get in the sense there that, you're doing a lot of the heavy lifting there in that you're tagging the different things in your knowledge base with a structure that you've worked out that makes sense, and that's something that you've come up, or you've found other people who've got structures in it. That's a great structure. I'm going to use that. That's something that by itself AI doesn't necessarily have to be involved in. I wonder, have like what you're saying makes sense, but I wonder, can you point to any examples where like you feel that because the AI, like you gave ChatGPT access to this, that it kind of like it helped you, like you didn't miss a flight, or is there, can you see a tangible change in the effectiveness with which your personal life is being run as a result of this, or is it still to be decided?
Absolutely. I think one thing is when I was building this personal system of mine, the second brain, I did not have a reference point at that point at that time. I think
Mm.
this is the reason why I probably have blabbered on about this personal system because it's become very relevant when AI just came into the picture because
Yes.
now I can say, okay, I've tagged something is visible to me, so I tag things even in my calendar, and I
Yeah.
have tags in front of it with different areas that I'm
Mm.
basically trying to action. So it also means I'm not getting confused and lost in the information. I'm able to
Sure.
act on it, and pair with AI, I'm able to bring in AI and get its perspective by feeding it information, and it can build a pattern around now my tagging system. So
Okay.
prior to I would go through all this. I would guess the way my system is going to serve me. Now the guesswork is not there. I have a solid objective. Now
Uh-huh.
reverse engineering here. So
Okay.
thinking, okay, this is my objective. This is how I want to act. I don't want to if I'm jumping on a call with someone, I have a clear action plan, and AI can help me with those frameworks, those templates to put it together.
Okay.
It is
Okay.
still me driving, but
Yeah,
AI
yeah.
is aiding me in putting these frameworks together. So if I need to make a business decision tomorrow, I have a clear framework, like a step-by-step
Right.
plan for a given. So I'm working in sales right now. I'm working in marketing because
Yeah.
I'm a one-man show. I'm also going through decisions. For example, how costly would it be for me to build a MVP and then justify the cost of that MVP? If
Right.
it's going through building a wireframe to actually building something unlovable, how much would that cost? So I can do a cost-based analysis on just that one piece. If I'm trying to,
But if I might just stop you there, just
yeah, sorry, yeah,
no, no, but just to like, you're talking still in somewhat abstract terms. But for example, that cost-based analysis, um, you would be asking ChatGPT, okay, I'm thinking about this. Could you do a cost-based analysis for me? And it has access to your information and what have you, and so it's
exactly.
then kind of basically it's coming up with that cost-based analysis, and then you're right, right, okay. And then similarly for the plans, like you're saying, you're going into a business school, that plan that's being constructed, that's something you said, okay, you said to ChatGPT, I've got this call with this person in this context, and given the context of me, could you
Yeah.
come up with a plan for this call? And then you've got that there, and obviously you can override it and decide, I don't think that makes sense. But it's you're kind of basically, as you do each thing and you make each decision, you're asking ChatGPT through the desktop app or whatever what to do. Is that right?
Absolutely, yeah. Because so the thing is, I probably take a step back. I think a lot of people, even in the early stages, see ChatGPT as a, let's say, a planner, or we can ask it to write a poem. You can
Mm,
ask it to write a, I don't know, a scene or something like that. So it's
mm,
very
mm,
creative. The way I am using it is pair it with creativity, but in a workflow. So I
sure.
mean, the companies I've worked for, it has a clear structure. So I've worked on the NHS app in the UK with IBM. So I've seen the different verticals and how companies are
Mm,
structured, how apps are built. So there's a bit of a process behind it. So I think, and with every single thing, the SOP call it, or call it the process, or for, if it's for a business, or even if it's just personal life management,
yeah.
everything has a step-by-step process.
Mm,
If the first, if you call it a sequence, these words are interchangeable.
sure.
But I find when I'm communicating with someone, I'm able to ask them those steps, how
Okay.
I can break it down.
Mm,
Uh,
mm, mm, mm.
Same thing for myself. I'm also just building these work streams.
Right.
Um, so then when AI comes into the picture,
Hmm.
I can allocate the right system to the right
Hmm.
process.
Sure.
So it's not that ChatGPT is the only thing that's always going to take over. There's multiple systems that interconnect. Initially, it took me some time to even understand this.
Hmm.
I was like, why are there so many systems? Why am I paying £20 for ChatGPT and then another £40 subscription for Lovable, for example?
Hmm. Hmm.
Now, that in itself is a cost-based analysis.
Sure.
There are so many different things you're trying to justify when it comes to building something and these subscriptions. Um, and each each system has its own purpose.
Sure.
Um, Whereas when I generally speak to a lot of people, they say, "Oh, ChatGPT is actually better than Gemini. Gemini is better than
Mm,
Manus.
mm, mm,
Manus is better than this." I use, but I don't think that's the right way of seeing it. Even
mm,
the builders of these tools are not building it in that same way. They are building it for a very specific reason, and every single thing has its own
mm,
spin on it. It has
mm.
a very specific niche that they are trying to target. So.
Yeah. Yeah. That's it's interesting what you described there about people thinking of ChatGPT as a planner. Like, so I was just happened to see ChatGPT on the App Store yesterday on the iPhone, and it was sort of its pitch was, "We'll help you plan things." And but it's funny because like I mean using ChatGPT for the last 2 years, I've never really thought of it in that way. Like I mean I've always sort of really been using it more on the. I mean I was just looking at my recent things that I have asked ChatGPT as an sort of a specific example of how it's affecting my life. So, for example, I was trying to airdrop an audio file from across devices, and so you've got a question here. So, where's my airdrop file? It's like stuff that I perhaps previously would have Googled or looked up on Stack Overflow, what have you. All of those questions, whether they're to do with technical stuff or I've got one here asking a update on the Iran-Israeli conflict or about technical things like stuff that I'm doing related to like writing comedy and so on. So many more of these questions are basically going through ChatGPT, but I'd never particularly thought of it as a planner. But as you're saying, and as clearly from OpenAI's advertising, they're kind of seeing that as like this is the killer app for people to plan their lives, right?
Yes, there's always the next big thing. There's always that killer. Um, oh, this is Gemini is the open AI killer, and I've
Well,
seen these clickbaits, which at a very high level, it's very easy to grab attention. But
mm,
when you start integrating these systems, I mean, this is my agency. This is
oh
all
yeah,
of this stuff is if I am basically providing a plan for someone, I have to
mm,
justify the cost of different
sure,
systems and
sure,
how they integrate and
yeah,
at what level I have to justify why is that system even there and how would it automate someone's process. So for
yeah,
example, I mean we've been in a hackathon, right?
yeah,
We use different APIs
yeah,
to integrate into uh into the into the the final version,
The
which was
product. Yeah.
agreed for the product, whatever we built. And obviously, I liked your product is when
Oh,
the
thanks.
idea behind it that was really interesting, and it was a very different niche that you
Mm.
brought to it, which is comedy, and it was
Right. Right.
amazing. But I think everyone at that hackathon had a process. They
Right.
they used the Sieve AI API
Mm.
for maybe content moderation to
Mm.
once it analyzes the video, it goes into content moderation.
Mm.
It's able to pick out the subjects in the video.
Mm.
It's that information, then that
Mm.
is fed, that text is fed into maybe OpenAI that
Mm.
could regenerate a narrative around what the
Mm.
original video was, and then from that narrative you can generate repurpose that content again. So I
Mm.
think
Mm.
this is probably one of the best ways to explain for anyone that might be obviously listening to us or watching.
Yeah.
That is a really good way to say, okay, I want my initial piece of information,
Mm.
that being in text, video, audio, different formats.
Yeah.
And I want that to be the basis of this new piece of information
Mm.
that could again be video,
Right.
could be a campaign, it could be advertisement, it could be a
Mm.
social media post. And now, obviously, that at a higher level, AI is doing that now. But we still don't know how to do that. A lot of people
Mm.
still see it as like, okay, if I just talk to ChatGPT and I just pass, if I use the desktop version,
Right.
it would just spit something out, but it's not following a very consistent
No.
pattern,
Right.
or it doesn't have the guardrails for
Absolutely.
a specific purpose. For example, like
Yeah.
in comedy, and adding images to that, you would have a very specific,
Yeah.
unique style to that, which is
Right.
unique to yourselves. And AI gets to learn that, but it is
Mm.
able to break it down into steps, and then you're you're never what that does is it's basically taking it out of the hallucination and
Mm.
that randomness of let me just go wild, but it's creating a step-by-step process so
Yes.
that the results are always consistent.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
That's
Indeed.
what I'm trying to achieve.
Yeah. No, I think you make a good point, and it's I think ChatGPT or indeed Gemini or the other things. I mean, ultimately all of these companies, they're trying to get market share, and but yet they are at the front end generalist tools, and then and the kind of things you're doing with your agency, and of course everybody in the hackathon, they're building workflows out of different components in order to try and more reliably produce whatever result they need for that particular product.
Absolutely, absolutely. Nicely articulated. Yeah, that's it. That's
Good
it.
stuff. Well, and that, fascinating. And so we focused on more on sort of the personal life, but so then, as you're working in the, the MERN stack and so on, I mean, just tell us briefly about have the AI tools really affected the way that you're doing coding? Are you still writing code, or is it the AI doing it all for you now?
I was telling my friend a couple of days ago, like I have not touched a line of code. Well, when I say not touched a line of code, I've not
Written from
gone and
scratch, yeah.
written. Um, I mean, working for a big company, call it a corporation, we still have to write code, and like I was writing code up until January this year.
Mm, mm,
That was traditional coding. There was a conflict of how to bring AI into it because I was working
mm,
with a lot of systems that were data driven and they had
mm,
sensitive information in it.
mm,
Of course, the use of AI for it to write or for it to write multiple lines of code,
mm.
it kind of does it in a black box.
Yeah.
Even though it writes really good code, this is where tech debt
Mm,
emerges for a lot
absolutely.
of big companies.
Sure.
Um, so there was a bit of a gray area at that time. I think
Mm,
a little bit black and white at the moment.
mm,
Even for bigger companies, they are still going from the black and white to more gray area, and they're
mm.
trying to justify. But sadly, I'm not part of those decisions, or probably not sadly. I think I'm glad that I'm actually on this side because now
Right.
I have the freedom to use AI the way I want to with
Sure.
my own objectives. And that's the whole point of building
Right, right,
and
right.
running this agency is that I've got the ownership of what I build and what I deliver.
Yeah, yeah. And what is your preferred now that you've got that control? Are
Yeah,
you using Cursor or what's the way that
absolutely.
you're getting systems built using AI?
Yeah, so now I'm focusing on the high level because I do. my role has shifted from just being a full stack developer to a founder.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
I'm wearing multiple hats in
Yeah,
my agency. Let's say, I'm running the sales, I'm doing the outreach. So every single thing has a step within a step within a step.
sure.
Uh, so I have, for example, AI systems that are reaching out to people, for example, and
Hmm.
different campaigns, and it's
Yeah,
able to, do A/B testing of my offer. That's
yeah,
one way. And then moving down into the business, when it
yeah.
comes to the business analyst side, I'm doing the business analysis by once I jump on a call with someone, I
Mm.
have my Fireflies taking notes
Hmm.
as
Hmm.
part of the meeting. So then it is able to summarize every single thing. So it's like working as an assistant. So
Yeah.
it never misses anything. It has action items, which is amazing for
Hmm.
a solopreneur like myself. Then moving down from there, once I grab those requirements, I
Mm.
think through ChatGPT, still desktop version, just to
Mm.
look around and understand what I can build
Oh
from
yeah.
this. I do
Hmm.
a matrix to understand what the requirements are, what are the pain points. Based on the
Ah,
pain points, I'm able to then figure out what potential um, technology could be used just to build a working prototype
right.
that has a high visual perception for the end user so they can
Right.
it's a tangible product that they can touch. It's not just words and ideas and just constant communication. It kind
Mm.
of tightens the loop as well. And then
Mm.
moving from there, I use ChatGPT, build prompts from that, and I'm going
Yeah.
to using something called Prometheus,
Okay.
which actually checks the prompt and it allows you to strengthen your prompts. So
Oh,
you
really?
it's like prompt engineering.
Sure.
But a lot of these systems cost a lot. So it's like I have to
Mm.
slowly bring it in. And then once I've built that prompt, I'll put that into Lovable. So
Mm.
Lovable is a system that builds out front-end designs.
Right.
I'm able to connect those designs or just build on, iterate over those. But that's why the prompt matters the most because
Okay.
I can define the user, I can define their workflows, I can define the objective at a high level,
Yeah.
and sort of reverse engineer what if it's a dashboard, the type of
Sure.
product, and then moving. So I'm sort of going left to right as I
Yeah.
think my
Sure. Sure.
business. So once I've built something with Lovable, I've shown this to someone, and they've seen the visual perception, and
Right.
it's built it very quickly. It's built it within 5 minutes.
Sure.
The server. So once I've done that, I can gauge if that person likes what they want. If
Hmm.
they don't like the workflow or the same order, then I'll change it. Once
Right.
I've made sure that the workflow is good, then I'll go into NAN and I'll start
Oh,
connecting the
yeah.
APIs,
Okay.
which becomes this left to right movement is very
Hmm.
helpful to work out because if you're, if from a business perspective, there are going to be many people that are interacting. You're going to quote different people on different services. So you want to make it
Oh.
as cheap as possible. And once you've
Hmm.
secured and you've closed the deal, then you start going into the more expensive tools, which is
Hmm.
when it comes to building code itself and building something custom, that's the most expensive thing.
Hmm.
If I go into, and I used to do this, I'll jump into Cursor, I'll start building stuff, and then I have to tie these loose ends because I'm writing custom code.
Hmm. Hmm.
But let's say, for example, I have shown the person a workflow, they are happy
Hmm.
with the dashboard, then I can go into Cursor and actually build out a scalable system for them.
Okay.
This is where I can bring in more custom technologies, containerize it using Docker.
Yeah.
I can start building the backend using Node.js, start making my own APIs if I need to make those.
Hmm.
But I think Lovable with NAN today is such a good mix. At least
Really.
small to medium-sized businesses, that's what
Hmm.
we need. But when
Okay.
it comes to the larger projects, go into Cursor. So yeah, sorry, I've gone into a bit of a left to right.
No, no, but that's fantastic. I mean, and I think, well, it reminds me of many different things, and I think our listeners will also find it really interesting. It reminds me of back in the day, we were doing these things like Google design sprints, and we didn't have the AI to automatically build these things, and it was all about, finding a way to kind of like Wizard of Oz. an interface and a flow and get feedback from the stakeholders. Is this what you actually want? Is this going to really help you? And even that, and do things like observe them using it without, being there, like putting pressure on them and seeing, okay, this person, even though they say they like it, actually they didn't get it and they couldn't understand it. And we're in this new world now with the AI, with, as you say, with Lovable, you can build something so super quick that is actually to the end user, to the stakeholder, it looks like they've got, okay, this is going to be the actual thing that I'm going to get. And I'm fascinated because you mentioned Nan, which I'm not familiar with. Can you tell us a little bit more about what Nan does?
Oh, actually, it's
Or
N8N.
NAN? I wrote it down. I think Nan. That's about my
I don't know
grandma.
if they've done it purposely. I think
But
they've
who knows?
because in coding you've got
But
the
not a
not
number.
as
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
number. But I don't know. Every time I think it's my accent as well. When I say N8N, I have to emphasize the eight, otherwise it's
Oh, it's
nan.
eight. Oh, it's
Eight, eight,
N88.
the
Okay,
number,
yeah.
yeah. So
Right, there you go.
N8N.
Yes.
So N8N is a it's an amazing tool. There are it's an integration tool
Okay.
at a very high level.
Mm.
Similar tools I would sort of I would say that are in the market that are sort of either competitors or complement N8
Sure.
N8N would be Make.com and Zapier. I think more
Oh,
people
yeah.
probably heard of Zapier.
Yeah, yeah. I've used
Um,
Zapier in the past. Yeah.
yeah. So N8N is more, it gives a developer more control and it
Mm.
gives the as a paradigm, it makes more sense to understand the left to right flow.
Hmm.
So the input and the output, and it has these modules within. So it's just a workflow, which could
Hmm.
be it could be triggered with a webhook. A webhook is just an API call a URL, and then it just triggers the workflow.
Hmm.
And you could start making calls to different APIs.
Hmm.
And these are contained in small modules.
Yeah.
They follow the exact principle of a CRUD operation, which is
Yeah.
create, update, delete.
Right.
So it just makes API calls, and now obviously we have so many systems, these third-party systems that are
Yeah.
talking to each other using API protocols.
Yeah.
So N8N just enables those people that don't even have coding experience to
Yeah.
actually build these workflows. And
Yeah.
what's amazing is that when it comes to communicating the value or what's
Yeah.
happening, you can just easily show this to someone and say, we are we are going through this left to right sequence
Yeah.
and there's X amount of APIs that are connecting to it,
Yes.
and this is what's happening. And you can add if conditions into it. You can add loops. So things that you would have to write in code, and you would have to
Yeah.
run servers, and you would have to do them,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
then you'd have to deploy them on the cloud. It's all self-contained, and it actually
Right.
comes with a Docker container, and you can where someone will charge you £24 for N8N, you can just self-host it for a fiver on a virtual machine. So
Mm.
yeah, these technologies are going crazy. Like it's
Right. Right.
amazing
Right.
what you can do with this now, and it becomes easier to explain and communicate these things and build it, and then iterate over them very quickly
Right.
without
Right.
breaking the lines of code and then running into issues. I mean, but Cursor does do a very good job at
Mm.
rewriting code, but I still think this is a very interesting way of just getting the prototypes
Yeah.
built.
Well, and you've effectively got kind of guardrails there. What it sounds like, I mean, if I just sort of create an example, let's say somebody is saying, "Oh, like, I really want an app that manages my golf scores and how I do on different golf courses." And so you could like basically do an interface for them and use N8N for like basically that interface. If they enter in their golf scores, then it's going to go and be stored in something, and then they want, a review of it, and you could have that data then processed by some AI that's going to give summaries on, okay, like consistently this is the particular golf course on which you've done the best, and you could sort of put that all together
Yeah,
without, as long as it doesn't require too much custom stuff, you can put that whole system together, show them, they can try it, you can iterate that experience with the user without really having to touch any code.
absolutely. That's exactly it. It's easier for everyone to, even designers, to see it.
Yeah.
Different stakeholders. I think one thing with bigger companies I have worked with, there's always been these silos
Yeah.
and communication.
Sure.
Communication. pitfalls because a designer sees from a different paradigm, same
Mm, mm,
application from a user perspective. The developer sees it from a development
sure.
perspective. The tester sees it from a tester perspective. What this is doing is it's actually bringing everything under one roof, and
Hmm.
it's allowing every single stakeholder to view things from a different angle, and actually see it emerge, which is massive. And that's why I think I could not do these things probably 2 years ago. I
Yeah.
could not be as ambitious as I am today to be a
Right.
solopreneur and say, I'm actually going to go and build and showcase the value because these systems enable me to do that and
Right.
actually
Right.
put in the volume. Whereas the volume before it was, I would have to write custom code and I
Sure.
could not do it. And I'll be maintaining
Yeah.
many systems. But now the systems are just integrated and it's bliss.
Yeah, no, totally. And I mean, we're sort of, we won't get you off to your next hackathon, so we might sort of jump forward. But I guess you're leading the way with your new agency. Now, are you trying to focus on delivering particular kinds of products, or you're just open to, anybody and anybody in any company that wants a thing, they should just, reach out to you and, like or are you focusing somehow in on a particular niche?
That's a good question. I think so with these tools, I'm definitely going to be niching down soon, but I'm quite early stages into my
Right.
agency. So that's the reason why I'm slightly general. And
Mm, mm,
I'm productizing the flow and the systemizing the flow first. But I'll productize the end offer of my service and niche it down to a
mm,
specific
mm, mm,
niche maybe a couple of months down the line.
mm, mm,
But what I'm doing at least at this point is, testing the market because whenever you build something, I think as us as developers, it becomes easier to just start building something and become obsessed with that.
right.
And then when we go into the markets, you hear crickets because it's very difficult to engage the
Yeah,
market.
yeah, absolutely.
Same thing with, guessing a niche, or my friend says this niche is good, so let's go
Right.
with that. I'm taking more of a trial and error approach where
Sure.
I'm trying out different niches and I'm using the tools and first showing the value to these niches and almost working with those initial clients as market research partners
Sure.
to showcase, understand their pain points,
Yes.
then bring the tools, alleviate those pain points very quickly and show the value, and then start moving towards
Yeah.
better systems to integrate into and at least from that, I think I don't want to be too general moving
Mm,
forward.
sure.
Um, but at this point, being general is serving me because
Yeah.
I'm still in trial and error testing phase.
Yeah.
Uh,
No, that makes perfect sense.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Brilliant. And so, going into our final couple of questions, you know, it's an amazing time. No one's got a crystal ball, but where do you see it going next? All this AI stuff.
All the AI stuff. So I think when I first started my agency, I went through a little bit of a philosophical moment to understand, where do I sit with this? I mean, if I can see AI writing code way better than me in a shorter amount of time. It can build
Mm,
products, and it was a bit of a moment for me to sort of take in. And I think for the
mm,
entire world, for
mm,
at least those people that have are seeing the possibilities of AI and what it could do and how quickly it's doing, and these
mm, mm.
new systems are emerging really fast. There's a bit of a negative connotation. I think that's probably that narrative. I think there's a bit of an ostrich effect for a lot of people as well
Okay.
at this point.
Yeah.
This,
Head in the sand.
ostrich head in the sand
Yeah.
moment.
Yeah.
So I had to come out of that, and obviously philosophy helps me in these sort of these
Mm,
times and
mm,
changes. So what I'm doing is I'm trying to understand what the purpose of me is and how can I use this AI tool. So I think moving forward, if we not just purely focus on profits, and the profits are quite important,
mm.
but building AI in a very community way, sharing
Yes.
knowledge way. I love what we're doing right now as well. We're sharing knowledge and we're actually having a discussion. I would not have actually done all these things if I
Mm,
did not know the value of AI, but AI actually is giving me time to jump on this podcast and actually talk to yourself,
Right.
the more we share knowledge amongst ourselves, we take and help other people that have the
Mm,
ostrich effect. We could build something amazing out of the tool, and we've seen it in the past as well in the history where
mm,
new technology comes in and it becomes a bit of a shaking moment for
mm,
everyone. They don't It's uncertain, but these tools, I believe, and I want to be optimistic because that's the only way forward. If I'm not optimistic, I
mm.
would probably take the next scare or next fear and have the ostrich effect myself.
Right.
So I'm just being blasé. I'm trying to, be bold with the technology, see
Mm,
what
mm, mm.
happens. I mean, this just doing a podcast with yourself in itself is out of my comfort zone. Uh,
Yeah.
Even though I can talk in person, but I want to do those things that are a
Yeah.
bit bold. And I think AI enables you to storytell very well. It enables you to be quite bold, and it enables you to take your existing values and heighten them. Of
Right.
course, that's why I said I've gone through a bit of a philosophical moment where I wanted to ensure my values were placed in the right direction because I'm going
Mm,
to scale my values moving forward
sure.
or whatever I believe in, AI would just heighten those, and you can see that in the content people, how people are using AI.
Mm,
There's things that are obviously there's sites that include porn as well, and
mm,
that
mm,
the way people are using that. There are sites where people are moderating this sort of content. There's
mm,
AI ethics, there's AI safety.
mm,
Um, so I think, yeah, we should definitely pick the right values and
mm.
use the technology because technology is only going to reflect back your values and society's value. So this is a bit of a shaping moment for us, I
Absolutely.
think.
Yeah, no, I think it is a big tipping point for human society. It was brilliant, and yeah, I mean, I think you've then answered our question about what it all means in the life, universe, and everything, all wrapped up in that, and hopefully we can bring you in on time. Shubinder, it's been fantastic talking to you. If people want to find out more about what you're doing, get in touch with the agency. Where should they go?
So I've got Align AI Solutions, just in the process of branding everything.
Mm,
Uh, but as I build more of this, so you can find me on Align AI Solutions. My LinkedIn, I'm
mm,
very active on LinkedIn at the moment.
mm,
Going to be posting more and more interesting stuff as well. Just like in that feedback loop, uh, putting myself out there, expressing more,
mm.
and then learning back from the people that are in the community.
Brilliant, brilliant. Well, it was a pleasure to meet you at the VEED hackathon, and you're off to another hackathon this weekend. Tell us about the hackathon this weekend.
So it's called Vibe Coding, set up by Encode.
Oh
It's
yeah.
spanning over 3 days.
Mm,
Big names coming to it. Not Ovid was very interesting. I liked the way they set it up, but I
mm,
think with OpenAI coming to Ovid, or at least speakers from Microsoft, Google, and a few couple of other partners.
mm.
And there are bounties. I'm not 100% sure what the internal looks like. This is my
Sure.
second hackathon actually. So this is
Mm,
with this new agency stuff. I'm doing so many different things in different ways. So
sure.
it's it's very empowering.
Yeah, it's brilliant. I mean, I think that is, the optimistic view of AI is that it takes away some of the drudgery so that we can do more of the fun things.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah, yeah, brilliant, excellent. Well, thanks everyone for listening. This wraps up the current episode of AI Leadership. If you'd like to be on the podcast or join the Rebel AI community, please don't hesitate to reach out to me, Sam Joseph. That's sam@neurogrid.com, and we'll see you all again soon, or indeed hear you or be in your earbuds or whatever we do. Finally remains for me to absolutely thank Shubinder Virk for being a wonderful guest. Thanks so much for your time.
Thanks, Sam.